Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim laYehudim hava Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim laYehudim hava Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim laYehudim hava Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim laYehudim Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika Yehudim laYehudim Zaira v'simcha v'sosavika. Where did we stop yesterday, Moshe?
Page 7.
You can have your pencil first. Your pen first. What did you say? Page 7? No, we did that. We did page 7. No, page 8. We're on page 8 now. Yeah. Bitachon atzmi. Okay.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Mase Amalek. What is Amalek all about, right? So you know that Haman is a descendant of Amalek. The Shabbos before, and you can also do this if you want to. You're allowed to do it, and then this will work. Okay. Amalek, the Shabbos before Purim is called Shabbat Zachor. We read a special portion from the Torah which says, remember to wipe out Amalek. That's why we bang when we hear Haman, when the Megillah is being read, it's for the sake of wiping out Amalek, right? So what is Amalek? Ma hara hachi gadol ba'olam. What is the biggest evil in the world? Hara hachi gadol ba'olam hu kasher ata lokeach lemishu et habitachon ha'atzmi shelo. The biggest evil in the world is to take someone's self-confidence away. Madua en shalom ba'olam. Why is there no peace in the world? Because there's nobody who believes in himself that he can really make peace. We don't believe that it's possible to make peace. A lot of us care about peace, right? But then when we make an effort to make peace and we see that the other party is not so willing to make peace, we give up, right? That's what happens, unfortunately.
What does this have to do with
self-confidence? Because
peace?
It takes a lot of self-confidence to make peace. You can It's a good question that he's asking. Anybody want to say anything about it? He's asking a good question. No?
I think yes.
So then you want to say something about it?
I think
the question that's being asked is, what does self-confidence have to do with making peace?
I think that to really believe that you can give over to someone else, even when they seem to be taking something from you, and a sense of there being a different interaction, not to be brought down into a place of resentment, of bitterness, of violence, of hatred. You have to be pretty sure that what you believe and what you know and what you can give to someone else is pure. And when it comes to making peace between you and another person, or between a nation and another nation, or whatever, it really comes down to this.
You understand what she's saying?
More or less.
It does need some elaboration. What is, let me start with this. What does self-confidence mean?
Self-confidence means that you stick up for yourself and you feel you have to. You stick up for your rights. And you're not afraid of doing like certain things.
Right? You're going out to sell something, and you have self-confidence that you can do it, right?
Right. Speaking.
And but then you also said that self-confidence is about sticking up for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have to fight for it, even if you have to beat up the other guy.
Yeah.
So that's why he's asking the question. What does self-confidence have to do with peace? Right? What do you want to say? You're shaking your head
I'm
as
like
to...
agreeing with that point where self-confidence means that you don't have to beat the guy to still to validate yourself.
So you're saying that self-confidence, in other words, it's one thing is to stick up for your rights, right? But that you don't have to actually get into an actual fight in order to validate yourself. In other words, if I'm insisting on my rights and you're not giving it to me, right? So you're telling me that I'm just a schmata, I'm nothing, and you're not going to give me what I deserve, right? And self-confidence is that I don't need you to validate me. In other words, if you're not going to give me what I deserve, if you're not going to give me my rights, so then it's your problem.
Right,
I might suffer as a result, and I probably will suffer as a result of not getting what I deserve from you, but it's no reason for me to allow you to rob me of my sense of self-worth.
Of my placement here. I'm still here.
I'm still here. I still have my values. I still have the things that I believe in, etc., right? And you can't take that away from me. In other words, you might be able to make me work as a slave, but you can't make me a slave. Right? You could enslave me, but doesn't mean that I'm going to be a slave. So that's what happened with Yetzias Mitzrayim. When Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, Hashem took us out of slavery completely. And many societies have tried to enslave us again, and they've done terrible things to us, but they've never been able to enslave us again. We're servants of Hashem. We're not slaves to anybody else. So you decide that you're going on a diet. Okay.
Never.
Right? You want to lose 50 pounds. And you go and you lose 50 pounds. And 2 months later, you gain it again. And the next time you decide to go on a diet, there's a voice inside that says, why are you bothering? You know that you're going to gain the weight back, right? You decide that you're not going to speak Lashon Hara again, and Amalek comes and says, you know how many times you've made that decision already? You really think that you're going to stick to it this time? You're never going to stick to it. You're just, you're always going to be the same. You're never going to you're never going to improve. You're never going to grow. Just the way you are. Just accept it, right? Or you say, I really want to do somebody a favor with all my heart, and a mullah comes and says, Judy's there, and the mullah comes and says, you really think that you really think that you're doing it with all your heart? You're not really doing it with all your heart, right? There's a part of you that is not totally sincere about it, right? You're doing it for some personal gain or for some personal benefit or whatever it is. So Amalek is taking away your self-confidence. He's saying that tilt the table a bit. Tilt the table. Good. He's saying that you're stuck. You're always going to be under my control. Okay. So, Kishiyatzanu Mimitzrayim. So just to sum up, so what does it have to do with making peace? It has to. It's like, what's your Hebrew name? You know? What?
Bathsheba.
Nice. I have a granddaughter. Okay, so you do you prefer your English name?
What are some of the barriers to achieving peace? That the self-confidence.
That's what I'm getting at. Is that you have to have self-confidence to trust another person. It doesn't mean that every person deserves your trust, but to be able to trust another person, you see. So, for example, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. I mean, why don't we allow ourselves to be completely close with another person? Why does one prefer that when you see something negative in another person, or let's say somebody did something not so nice to you, and then they come and apologize. Why do you prefer to forgive them, but not completely? Right? Because just in case they might do it again, right? Just in case they might do something, or they might do something else that you don't like, then you're going to hold this against them too, right? So it's sort of like you need, like, like, why do people like to listen to Lashon Hara? Because when you hear that so-and-so is a jerk, you feel better about yourself, right? Or, I mean, there could be many reasons, okay? Or, for example, I know enough about you that you better watch out and don't try to make any trouble for me because I can get you into trouble, right? I can tell people things about you that are not so nice. So watch yourself. Like, like I have certain control over you, right? But if you need to put somebody else down, or if you feel a need to know something negative about somebody, it means you're lacking some self-confidence. Why do I need to know something negative about you? How's it going to do? Why? I don't need it. If you have self-confidence, I don't need to put you down, right? Most people, when they put somebody else down, it's because they're lacking self-confidence, right? They need to hold on, please. Okay, they need to what do you call it? They in order for them to feel better, they need to be able to put somebody else down. Well, what's one got to do with the other? It's because you don't feel good enough about yourself. So in order to make yourself feel better, you have to put somebody else down. And so now let's say a husband and wife or two good friends got into a big fight, okay? And we're saying that you have to have self-confidence to be able to make peace, right? So the other person that is apologizing to you. You have to have self-confidence to be able to trust them. But what kind of self-confidence am I talking about now? You have to have the self-confidence that if you were the one that needs to apologize to the other person, you would be able to apologize with a completely sincere, honest heart. Right? Now, if you have that self-confidence that you can apologize to another person with complete sincerity, then you can also accept another person apologizing to you with complete sincerity. But if somebody apologizes to you and you say, okay, I'll be polite and I'll forgive you, but I don't really trust that you were sincere, right? Why don't you trust that the other person is sincere? Now, maybe there's good reason not to trust them, but let's say there isn't any special reason. But often you'll see that the reason that you don't trust that the other person is being sincere is because you yourself don't see yourself as being sincere when you have to apologize to another person. Okay?
Mm-hmm. There's an expression in English which goes for the positive, but I think we can take the negative. You got it, you spot it. You have something within yourself that is very good, and you'll notice that the other person has it. But now, what you're learning from you now is if you have something within yourself that's not so good.
In psychology, that's called projection.
Okay.
You project yourself onto another person.
What I wanted to ask you is, you're talking about self-confidence, and you said the self-confidence is, I'm wondering if it's also love. In other words, I love myself enough, if I really love myself in a healthy way fully, I think that's another aspect.
It's related.
Self-love.
Let's say it's related. It's not necessarily this. It's not the same thing, but it's related. You can have self-confidence even if you don't love yourself. But it's related. Okay. So he says, when we left Egypt, what did Amalek tell us? Atem מאוד נחמדים, you're very sweet, you're very cute. Atem חופשיים לכמה שבועות, you're going to be free for a few weeks. אבל בקרוב, תהיו שוב עבדים, but soon you're going to be slaves again. Right? I decided I don't want to speak any more Lashon Hara, and Malik says, that's very cute. Let's see how long it's going to last. Okay? So that's taking away my self-confidence. אני לא רוצה להגיד משהו רע, I don't want to say anything bad, אבל בהיסטוריה, אתם יודעים שהיו אומות שקיבלו חירות. There have been nations that were liberated and were freed through history, throughout history. אבל כמה זמן הם הרגישו בפנים את החירות? But how long did they actually continue to feel their freedom? Shum adam lo chizek et habitachon atzmi shelehem. Nobody strengthened them in their self-confidence. Okay? In other words, what very often happened is that the slaves who were liberated, ended up making other people slaves. Right? If you're really free, you don't need to make somebody else into a slave. Right? If you're really free, you don't if you're really into freedom, you don't even want to make somebody else into a slave. Right? So I'm sure that if we would spend more time thinking about this, there's much more to elaborate on this, right? There's much more to elaborate on this. Huh? It's a very relevant topic. It's very relevant, especially when you're getting into a relationship, possible marriage, and so on. All these things are really important, and one day on one of my trips, I was staying at a friend's house. It was a Sunday afternoon, and he said that that there's a men's group that they were going to be having a session with a therapist. It was actually in Muncie, and these were all men that were having either were divorced or separated or having marital problems. And I don't know what kind of therapy the guy was doing with them, but obviously they were doing something to bring out their emotions. And every week was another person or whatever. And this one guy, I was upstairs, and this guy started screaming, "I want respect. I want her to respect me. I want her to respect me." Right? So when somebody doesn't respect you, nobody likes not being respected, right? You want to have respect. Everybody wants to have respect, right? But the degree to which your disrespect for me is going to hurt me is dependent on how much self-confidence I have. The less self-confidence I have, the more you can hurt me. The more self-confidence I have, the less you can hurt me. Okay? So, and very often, if you say something and it hurts me, it's because I'm giving you the power to hurt me. But if I say, "Wait a minute, I'm okay. I'm okay. I have things to improve in," and so on and so on. But basically, I'm not a bad person. Hashem is giving me life. Hashem thinks that my life is worthy. I think my life is worthy. And if you want to hurt me and you want to put me down, that's your problem. It's not my problem. It's too bad. It's too bad that it's happening. But if you say something like, "Oh, I don't like the way you're dressed today, and that drives me crazy," or "I don't like, this about you or that about you," and that really offends me, and that really gets me all upset. It's because I'm allowing it to upset me. Okay? If something happened in my life in the past that was very painful, and I allow it to continue to give me pain, it may have happened 25 years ago, right? But the fact that it's hurting me today is because I'm allowing it to hurt me. Understand? Yes, it happened. And certain wounds take a long time to heal. There's no question about it. And very often there's always going to remain some scar tissue, when you pick on the scar, starts to bleed again, right?
Mhm.
So, but stop picking on the scar. You understand? Stop picking it. Let it, just let it be, or let it heal. And you have to have that self-confidence. You know, I used to be afraid of dogs. And I was already in my 20s, at this, my later 20s. And I was out in the Laurentians in the country, and I went for a long walk on Shabbos afternoon through the woods. And then going back, I decided to go back with the road because it was already getting dark and I didn't want to spend the night getting lost in the forest. So I went back with the road, and then as I was coming closer to the place where I was staying, I remembered that I was going to have to pass this big property. They always had guard dogs, attack dogs. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, it's already almost dark. I'm not going back into the woods now. And I'm going to have to walk by that property. And the dogs are going to come. They're going to attack. So I had no choice. I said, you know what? I decided, you dogs have no right to attack me. Okay? You have no right to attack me. Who do you think you are? You're just a dog. Okay? And I continued walking, and they came running down to the road, two big dogs. And I said, you can bark, you can come and smell me, but don't you dare touch me. And as I was thinking that, like on the spot, they stopped, and they followed me for a half a mile. And every so often I would turn around, take a look at them, and they'd stop. Understand? It was that self-confidence. If you don't have that, and I found this out one day when a dog owner told me, they used to cross the street when I see people coming with a dog. And they would always come across the street. And they said, that when you are scared, your body gives off a certain chemical that attracts them. Mamish. It attracts them. And that's why they come after you, right? People who use other people, or who, just to their benefit and can abuse people, they can come into a room of, let's say, 50 people, and within 2 minutes they'll know who they could abuse. They have antenna. They can just pick out the right person, and I don't know how they do it, but there's something about that when you have self-confidence, people won't bother you. When you don't have that self-confidence, people will come after you. Okay? That's the way it is. So the thing is to really have self-confidence. People get into a marriage and then they get divorced, and they very often, when they get married again, there's an expression, from the frying pan into the fire. They very often end up marrying a person with whom they're going to have the same problems that they had in the first relationship.
That's frying pan to frying pan. That's not frying pan to fire. I've done both.
Okay.
Know the difference.
Okay, the Seder, I'll accept it, right? And the reason is because they didn't grow from the first experience. They didn't change in any way. They didn't grow from the first experience. Okay? And that's why you need to have self-confidence. So you have to know that there is an energy in the world. There's an Amalek in the world whose job it is to try to take away your self-confidence. And you have no choice but to wipe him out. Okay? So, Amalek says on page 8, last paragraph. He says, "L'famim ani menagen he says, "Ani menagen holech lenagen bebetei kela." I go to play in. There's a typo here. Okay, I go to play for the prisoners,
In the jail.
and the saddest thing is, and I asked them, "Hey, where's Moshe?" You know, like, someone used to go visit the jails here. They've been released from prison. But they're going to be back soon, right? What does that mean? That when they left prison, somebody told them, "Oh, yeah, you'll be back," right? And that destroys the little bit of self-confidence that they have, right? What is it? 80% of people,
Recidivism.
huh?
The word is recidivism.
Recidivism. What is it? Like 80% go back to prison?
It's not that high, but it depends on what type of offense. Like
Yeah.
drug offenses tend to have a quite high type of recidivism, as well as like anything.
But also, burglaries and things like that. Like, because there's a lot of issues here. See, in the Torah, if somebody stole, they wouldn't be sent to jail. The Torah says you have to pay back double, sometimes 4 or 5 times as much. And if the person didn't have what to pay back, so if they have what to pay back, so they pay back. If they don't have what to pay back with, so they would be sold as a quote unquote slave. Okay, which, by the way, according to the Torah law, if you bought a slave, a Jewish slave, and you had one pillow, guess who gets to sleep on it? The Eved gets to sleep on it, not you. So basically, and they would work for you for 6 years. In the 7th year, they would be freed again, right? They would be free. Now, basically, that was a rehabilitation type of arrangement. Understand? It's like saying, okay, you got into a mess. I'll pay your bill. You're going to work it off, and then you'll continue with life, right? That's the attitude that the Torah takes. Okay, that's the attitude that the Torah takes with these things. What do you want to say?
No, I'm just thinking.
I know that you're thinking something. What question?
No,
Not yet. Okay.
not yet.
So this is the. Hey, Tzivia. Shalom Aleichem. Okay. Right, and if you've ever been teaching in a classroom, if you don't walk into the class with self-confidence, the kids are going to walk all over you. As a teacher, you have to have that self-confidence. It doesn't mean that you have to be a rough, tough teacher. It means that you have, right, David, you taught in the Bronx. Brooklyn. Well, it both starts with a B. But in any case, you didn't have the self-confidence to go to the Bronx.
That wasn't enough also by itself. But if you don't have, sure you're gone.
Any class, any school, if the teacher doesn't have self-confidence, the kids are going to make a mess of him, right? It was years ago, you probably can see it on YouTube. I don't know how to find it, but this Lubavitcher Chassid from South America went in to become principal of a school in the Bronx. Do you know the story?
Yeah.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Switchblades.
No, that's a book. Yeah, and no.
I don't know the book, but
No, there's not. He's referring to something else.
Yeah.
And he came into this school, and he speaks Spanish also. When he showed up, the staff looked at him and they said, are you sure you're in the right place? They knew there's a new principal coming, but in walks this guy with a beard, a real chassid, Lubavitcher chassid. And the staff was like, what? Anyway, and this was a school that the failure rate was enormous. he turned it around and made it into an A-class school
Where was this?
in the Bronx. And you can if you spend a few minutes searching on Google or on YouTube, you'll find it. And it's 5 minutes. They reported it on ABC News or NBC News or something like that. This is years ago, but and the first thing that he did is that he told the kids, you're going to have respect for yourselves. You're going to come here clean, dressed properly, and you're going to start doing really well in school. And then he had meetings with the staff, and he went and sat in on the classes, and basically what he saw is that the teachers were not respecting the intelligence of the students, that when teachers were going into the classes with the attitude of, oh, these are just a bunch of bums and we're never going to get anywhere, and so on and so on, he made demands on the teachers. He made demands on the teachers that they have respect for the students and respect for themselves. And he brought in the parents, and he made demands on the parents that, you want your kids to succeed, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. And it was all with the attitude of, I'm not buying this business of you're second-class citizens, that you're not good enough, that you can't do this, you can do it. And he inspired them with self-confidence. He inspired them with self-confidence, and literally, I think it didn't take even a year that school became a top school.
What was the name of this rabbi? Or this teacher?
No, I don't know. I don't remember the name, but he was a South American guy. And
They did a test. They told one teacher into the lowest grade, lowest performing classes. They told one teacher, "This is your class." The other told one, "This is a special group, mamish high intelligence." It's a different story.
And
Just from telling,
just from telling the teachers, right?
Yeah.
From the attitude of the teachers.
Yeah.
Now it happened to be that this guy was also in Marine, in the
Right.
U.S. Army,
Yeah.
and he was in special services. So when there were guys in the school, this was a high school, and there were guys in the school that decided that they're going to, corner him, right? He showed them a couple of moves, and they saw that they're not doing this again with him. Right?
That helps too.
That helps also, right?
Yeah, especially the boys.
Okay. So, and he says that Tim Yadimer on page 9. I'm friendly with the homelessim. Basically, I hope that they're my best friends too. I used to sometimes walk with Reb Shlomo on Broadway. And after the first block, he had no money left. And after the second block, whoever was walking with him didn't have any money left either, because he gave it all away.
What is the word homelessim?
Homelessim is an English word.
That's the hardest word in Hebrew.
And Judy used to work for Shlomo, and she would say that very often he'd leave the house on a winter day with wearing a sweater and a jacket and a coat, and he'd come home in his shirt. Because he'd see a homeless person that was freezing, he took off his coat and covered him. You see another one that was freezing, he took off his jacket. See another one that was freezing, he took off his sweater and gave it away.
This is in New York.
Yeah. And so, and you know the story, David, that the last night of the Shiva, when Reb Shlomo was nifter, the last night of the Shiva, the Chaver were finally leaving his apartment upstairs from the shul, and around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's this homeless guy standing outside crying, and everybody started taking their money to give him money, and he says, "No, I'm not crying for money." He said, "So what are you crying for?" He said, "Who's going to come and sing and play for us and tell us stories at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning under the underpass?" Like, on 79th Street, there's a big underpass there, and where the homeless would gather for shelter at night. And nobody knew this while Reb Shlomo was alive, but after everybody would leave at night, he'd sleep for an hour, and then he'd take his guitar and go down to the homeless people and spend the rest of the night telling them stories and singing for them to give them to restore their self-confidence. One night he got one night he gets a call after Shabbos from a woman, and she says, "You gotta go see my brother. He's in prison, and I'm afraid he's going to commit suicide." Reb Shlomo says, "I'm supposed to catch a plane at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to Europe, and the prison was like 2 hours away from New York." He says, "If you can get a car for me and to take me there and then take me to the airport, I'll go." What was the story? The story was is that this young man was 21 years old. He used to have a drug problem, and then he got off it. And the grandparents had left a big inheritance. You know the story? They had left a big inheritance, and that he was going to, that when the grandchildren were turning 21, they would get their portion. It was like a good couple of $1 million. And until then, the parents had control of the money. So when he turned 21, his parents made him a birthday party. And as a birthday gift, they gave him a big bag of dope. And then they called the cops.
Parents. I never heard this story.
They called the cops. And being that he already had a record, they really put him into the slammer. And his sister called up Shlomo and said, like, "We got to go see my brother because I'm afraid he's going to commit suicide."
Why would you get that job?
They wanted the money. That's why he wouldn't get the inheritance. People are crazy, don't worry. Thank God you don't know these kinds of people. I was once doing a Shabbaton in Vermont, and Friday night, this guy comes with a bunch of teenage girls from this private school, all of them from multi-million-dollar homes, and every one of them loaded with problems because their parents didn't want to have anything to do with them. There are people like that, bless you. Anyway, so Shlomo gets to the prison, and the guard says, "I can't just let you in. You have to have a pass. You have to have an appointment, this and that." And Reb Shlomo knew how to talk when he needed to talk in any way that he needed to. And he basically put the fear of God into the guard. He told him, "If this guy is going to commit suicide tonight, you're going to be responsible." And the guard got scared and let him in. Reb Shlomo sat with this boy for a good couple of hours, singing with him, telling him stories, whatever he was doing. And then when he left, and he turned around to look, the guard and this boy had their arms over each other's shoulders. Understand? You have to have a lot of self-confidence to go through life, right? So he says over here that, and unfortunately, there are people who do nasty things to take away your self-confidence, right? You go to school, you think that you're going to be a really good student, and some teacher like laces into you and tells you that you're so terrible, you're this, you're so that, and they put you down, like crazy. I once met a young man recently, a few years ago, back in Montreal. I had him as a student in grade 4. Comes over to me, he's so happy and so excited to see me, and all over me. I said, "Why?" And I hadn't seen him in years. So he says, "You saved my life in grade 4." This kid was totally demolished by the system. Every teacher that he ever had, totally put him down. Nobody had any respect for him. And the kids also didn't have any respect for him because the teachers were always putting him down, And,
I remember in school, those words for a kid that was put down by the teacher.
It's criminal.
Yes.
It's criminal, you understand? And that's That's the teacher working for Amalek. You know, it's not enough that Amalek is doing it himself. He's got agents also. Okay. So he says, "Lifamim ani," we're in the third line, second word. "Lifamim ani shoelet echad min hachavra." I asked some of them, you know, I ask about somebody that I haven't seen. Hemonim, they tell me, hu matzah bayit, he found a house. Aval min hastam b'karov nireh ot tashuv b'rechovot. He found a house to live in, but probably we'll see him back on the street soon. Ze mamash shoveg et halev, it breaks your heart, right? So b'Purim hadavar hachi chashuv hu, the most important thing on Purim is shenitein bitachon asmi ze lazeh, is that we give each other self-confidence. Gewalt, ich anu ohavim ze et ze. Purim, that we love each other so much. The Purim HaMegillah hi eish, mamash eish. The Megillah is like fire. Mamash eish, mamash yesh ptzatza garinit v'chol milah sheba Megillah. Now he doesn't explain the sentence over here, bless you. But what Reb Shlomo used to say is that the Megillah is like a love letter from Hashem to us. You thought that I wasn't paying attention to you. I was paying attention to you all the time, right? And the whole celebration of Purim is mishloach manot. We're sending each other gifts of food to let each other know, even when I don't see you, I'm thinking about you and I love you and so on. Halavai, that should be true every day of the year. Understand? But that's basically what it's about, is to make that clear, that don't stop thinking that you're alone. Now, what if you are alone? Well, you still have an neshama.
You don't stop thinking you're not alone.
Stop thinking that you're alone. Okay. And what if you are alone? What are you going to do then? Well, think about the fact that you have a neshama, and your neshama is crying out to you, saying, "Can I have some attention, please?" Right? And then when you think a bit further, and you think about the fact that your neshama is a part of Hashem, it's a chelik elokah mimal mamish, it's mamish a part of Hashem. So then you realize, I'm not really alone. I have Hashem with me. Okay? I told you once, I was sitting one night and feeling very lonely, and I was scribbling, and I wrote alone, A-L-O-N-E. That's how you spell it, right? Then I wrote A space L-O-N-E. Then I wrote A-L space O-N-E. All one, right? And it struck me, just doodling with the word, that maybe I'm feeling lonely because I'm making Hashem feel lonely. And that my feeling lonely was Hashem's way of knocking on my soul, or knocking on my consciousness, and saying, "Hey, Shalom, you going to open the door for me?" Right? And sometimes we don't open the door for God. Right? The Kosker, when he was a child, somebody said to him, "I'll give you a ruble if you can tell me where God is." So there's two stories. One story is that he said to the guy, "I'll give you two if you can show me where he's not." And the other story is that he said, God is wherever you let him in. Right? If you don't let God in, it's not, Hashem says, okay, so then fine, be alone. When you'll be lonely enough, you let me in. If you'll have the intelligence to do that, But we got it sort of like, the Megillah is a love letter. It's like, it's like Hashem saying, you're not alone. Let me in. Let me into your life. Let me into your heart. And you're not alone. That my love for you is there, even when it is so totally concealed. Right? The Gemara says, Esther min Torah minayin, where in the Torah is there an allusion to Esther? And it quotes the verse that Vayom Hahu v'anochi haster astir et panai, I'm going to conceal my face from you, I'm going to doubly conceal it. And you won't even know that I'm hiding, right? And as a result, we thought that we were so forlorn and that we were abandoned, and we went to the feast that Achashverosh made, right? Reb Shlomo, the Gemara says, why did the whole thing with Haman happen? The whole decree of Haman, because we went to the party that Achashverosh made. So what's wrong? The king invites you to a party, you're not going to go? But the thing is, he says, the Gemara says, what was Achashverosh showing off at that party? He was showing off the vessels of the Beis Hamikdash, of our temple, the vessels that had been taken away from us. And he came out wearing the garments of the Kohen Gadol, right? So he says, somebody comes and robs your father and then invites you and stole all his precious things. Then he invites you to a party at which he's going to show off the things that he took away from your father. You're going to go to a party like that? But never, we thought that we were so abandoned. We thought that we were so abandoned that we're not why not go to the party? Well, anyway, that's when we learned that we're not abandoned. And when you have, why do we say that why were there rabbis that would say Baruch Haman and Purim when they were drunk? Why would you bless Haman? Because it was through Haman that we realized what our real life is all about, what our real connection with Hashem is all about. I heard an amazing thing, David, you're going to appreciate this. The Gemara says that, at that party, you could have had, there was kosher food, with a badatz hechsher for the religious Jews. There was kosher wine. There was everything. You didn't have to come and eat treif, okay? But you know what they didn't have? Music. There was no Jewish music. So I heard Reb Mata Frank say, because Achashverosh knew that if Jews are going to hear some Jewish music, they're going to do tshuva. So there was no music for them.
He was that aware.
These guys weren't stupid, these kings of these big countries.
But this was another religion.
Yeah, but they listen. Pari was a super intelligent man.
Right. In the Shkei Yerushalayim, that was all from that's the pasuk. On my hand, though.
Yeah.
My hand. Well, what's the pasuk?
Tishkach Yemini, yeah.
So that's it. That's from playing music with the right hand. That's the.
Oh yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of music? Was there Garsha music?
Probably, but there was kosher wine, there was kosher food, but there was no Jewish music.
Because the music is the big.
It's
bad news for the neshama.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, we do use in Jewish music. We do take much.
You could be mitahirit. It could be elevated.
It's like taking Haman and saying Baruch Haman.
It can be elevated, but it needs to be elevated. I mean, one night I was coming home from Tel Aviv, and I was walking by one of these music stores in the Tachana Merkazit, and they were blasting some rap songs. I couldn't believe. You've heard some of these rap songs, the violence and the language is like.
It depends what rap you listen
No,
to.
I'm saying
Yeah.
what I heard that night,
Of course, it's really bad.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And people sing that. People sing that.
It's an outlet for frustration and anger.
Yeah, and it increases it. It's not an outlet, it creates more. because it goes into, for a lot of people, it goes into
Well,
their
I think,
head.
yeah.
And then when they see something that somebody they don't like, they're already playing the song, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you, I'm going to do that to you.
It's for me, in black culture, it's a major destroyer.
What?
It's a major destroyer of black culture today.
The rap music.
It's
But
huge.
it's also about what you find, because there's also amazing.
Yeah, but the
rap
question
music
is,
and
what's the
rap
majority of it?
Most Yeah.
David is the music teacher, and he taught in these public schools in Brooklyn, and he knows the scene.
Scene is different in every state, city.
Yeah, I'm not saying no, but
No,
I'm just
I'm
telling
not.
you.
New York, but-
Listen,
you do hear some,
look, Matisyahu.
There are positive things.
Matisyahu was like singing very positive stuff. You know, you've heard
But most of
Matisyahu,
it's real filth,
huh?
depression, and hopelessness.
But not just, well,
Have you
yeah,
heard of
but
Kendrick Lamar?
No, I maybe have heard about it. I'm not. No, there's definitely stuff that's positive.
I guess I'm just saying it can go in a direction of positivity.
everything
But-
that's by definition. We're living in a world of free choice.
Yeah.
You understand? The question is why, like, you know, like, for example, a lot of the great literature was written by people who were severely depressed, right? True? That is true. That you agree with something.
And yet I love literature, and I even believe that you should read some of that literature.
Yeah, okay. But there are people who believe that the only way that you could write great literature is if you're severely depressed.
Might be true.
It might be true.
So I'm on there. I don't
It
know.
doesn't. No, that's my point.
No, I
That
understand.
it doesn't have to be true.
Of course.
The same way that you're saying that.
Yeah, I guess I just think when people say that rap music is a problem.
No, but Bichlal,
It's
I
very-
actually once was thinking to myself, what would be if you would raise your children without language, but rather just with music?
Amazing.
But then I found out that, you know, the Nazis, the Machshaman, used to have the Jewish musicians play classical music while they were butchering other Jews, so that people shouldn't hear the screaming and the crying. You know. Now there was music. Music. I thought at one point that music cannot be abused, but music, like anything else, like language, like anything else, everything in this world can be used positively, can be used negatively.
20 years from now, this rap music is going to be called the golden oldies.
The golden oldies.
Actually, I think rap music's going to move in a direction where it's going to be more positive and life affirming.
I hope so.
Because already it started. Like,
Yeah, there was a
contemporary
voice in the
rappers.
beginning.
The
That was the only way they
Jewish
can
group.
express what's going on in the,
Yeah,
They
in
just
the
started
hood.
singing with this black non-Jewish rap group as well.
There's a couple of black rappers that converted, you know.
Oh, there's a Muslim convert.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that you can see them on YouTube. I forgot the names, but huh?
Listen.
Nissim is one of them.
It's
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, guys.
Huh? Yeah. Anyway, that's the point is, that's just to sum it up. The point of the whole thing is, the worst thing you could do to somebody is take away their self-confidence. And the biggest favor you could do to somebody is to restore their self-confidence. And everybody needs self-confidence. There's no person that can get along without self-confidence and achieve the best that they can. That's the important thing. And Purim is all about restoring self-confidence. We send food and gifts to each other, gifts of food to each other, and we help the poor. And the whole idea is to say, maybe you thought that I don't think about you anymore. I do think about you, and I do care about you, and I want to be best friends with you. And as I mentioned yesterday from the Mishnah, the big miracle of Purim is that we went out into the street, all of us, on the 13th of Adar, and we made it clear to everybody: start up with one of us, you're starting up with all of us. Right? We're not gonna run away and hide and let you get away with hurting, just a couple of us with this fake idea, thinking that, oh, let's just protect ourselves. We're sticking together. We're sticking together. We're gonna take care of each other. Okay, so we're gonna continue Yis Hashem tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could that mean that at the end of the story that there was peace between all the Jews, and that's what?
Did it last?
It wasn't. Even at the end of the story, it's Europa now.
Amalek didn't retire.
At the end of the Megillah doesn't say, or everyone respected, loved Mordechai. It said, go.
Right, it says Rov. That's correct.
It means the Geula wasn't ready.
I think they have it at the store at Dabri Shir. At the Tachana Merkazit.
Yeah, right.
They should have, yeah.
Right. Got it. Thank you.